Everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I'm going to talk about how to invoke an Apex class from a flow, right? This is a pretty simple requirement. So at times you might encounter a scenario where you might have to use the Apex using a flow, right? So the prerequisite for this tutorial is you need to have a basic understanding of flows, basic understanding of an Apex code. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details about how Apex code works. So this tutorial is mostly intended for developers. If you're an admin, you might welcome to stay tuned. You might find some benefit out of it. Even if you're a technical architect, you will find this session valuable. Because if you're a technical architect, obviously you will know how to code, right? So cool, great. So the basic requirement is when you create an account, right? I want that information to be logged into a custom object called accounts log, which got two information. That is an account ID and a text, right? So the requirement, again, I repeat, is pretty straightforward. Create an account, and when the account gets created, information get populated into account log custom object. Nice and easy, right? Now you might argue, right? We can do this using an after insert trigger, which is true. You can, but think about it. The beauty of Salesforce is, it lets you do stuff without code, right? You can do a lot of stuff using point and click. Now, if you can do something using point and click, then in my honest opinion, I think that's the best way to go forward. Because even though you can write code for most of the stuff, but why would you have to write a code, right? When you can use the custom built tools to do that by Salesforce, right? And plus the code is difficult to maintain in the long run. So if you can do without code, that's the best way to go forward. So we're going to use the flow, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the code which I've written. It's a very basic code. So let's go to the developer console, right? So this is a class I've written, an account log class, right? It's an invocable, it contains invocable method, right? And invocable variables, right? So now pay attention to this invocable variable here, right? So I have used two annotation, invocable variable, global ID, account ID, and global string log. So I'm expecting two variables, that's an ID and the log. The log is a text file, right? And then I've wrapped in the form of a class, and then I used as a list of the param under update log invocable method. So all I'm doing here is that I'm looping through it, right, through the list, and then I'm creating an accounts log object where I'm inserting the data. But pay attention here, I'm not inserting the data inside the for loop. I'm bulkifying it, right? I'm putting this account log object to a collection, and I'm inserting it after the outside the for loop, right? It's not a good practice to do a bulk insert within the for loop because you might risk hitting the circle limit, right? So you need to pay attention to that as well. So just wanted to mention that, right? Okay, nice and easy. Okay, fantastic. All right, now let's jump back into your setup. So we're gonna go back to setup, right? So if you haven't registered for an org, right? So it's easy to register. Go to developer.salesforce.com. You can register for a free org. I've talked about zillions of times how to register for an org. If you do not know, please watch one of my videos, right? It's right out there. It's nothing fancy, right? And I would encourage you to register for an org if you don't have one, because that's the best way you can learn Salesforce, by doing hands-on, right? But just listening to tutorial, it's great. I mean, you will learn, but at the same time, it's good when you do practice. It's a muscle memory, right? Cool. Okay, so go to setup here, right? And then just go to setup here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to flows, right? So we have this quick find option here. Look for flows if you do not know where to search for it. Okay, so go to flow here, right? Now, think about it for a second here, right? So let me click on new flow, okay? Now, so we got all these options here. We got screen flow, we got, schedule trigger flow, we got auto launch, no trigger. So we're not interested in all of this, right? So our requirement is pretty straightforward. We're not capturing any information from a user. We don't want it to trigger it. we don't want to schedule it. So all we wanted to do when a record get inserted to an account object, it calls the Apex code behind the scene, and boom, insert the record right into a custom object. That's all we need. We don't want any update process, right? We are not interested in any update in information, right? Let's say you go and modify an account, right? So we don't want any data to go into accounts log object in that scenario. So the requirement is pretty straightforward. You insert a data into an account, you create a new account, in other words, and then an information get populated into this table. Nice and easy. Okay, now there should be a trigger, right? There should be a flag. So account object, right? There's a flag, active status, right? So what I'm going to do, when a user set an active status to true, during the insertion of an account record, it will push the data to an account log, right? Cool. So go to this record trigger flow, and next, okay. Now I'm going to use this auto layout. You can use freeform if you want, but I prefer someone to do stuff for me, right? So nice and easy, right? I mean, I like to get spoiled. Why not, right? And Flows gives you that option, right? So when you have something, when you have somebody doing stuff for you, it's great, right? I mean, feel good. So that's what I like in this kind of flow, right? It does stuff for you. It builds it for you a skeleton structure, so which is easy to work on, right? Okay, so now choose an object. So you can see here, we have a start here, then we have a trigger, a record is created, and then after the record is saved, right? Now we're going to choose an object. So this is where our object of interest comes in the picture. Okay, and now you're going to choose account, because account is the triggering, the driving force behind this trigger, right? An account creation. So what we're going to do, we're going to set the active to yes, right? So during the creation of an account, when a user sets an active to true or yes, right, it will trigger this flow, okay? All right, so now the flow is triggered. Now, what exactly wanted to happen behind the scene? So what I wanted to do, I wanted to call that Apex class, which I created, remember? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this plus sign icon here, right? Okay, click on action, and then look for an Apex, right? So, or you can search for an Apex, okay? So see, these are the invocable method. It automatically shows up here. There are other ones are something which I've created before. If you remember, I talked about calling Apex from a process builder a long time ago. How to delete a contact from a process builder. So you can do that using Apex. I'll share the link to that video in the I button, wherever it is, right? Okay, so go to account update, right? Now see the difference here. You see set the to input variable, it automatically shows up 2, right? This is because I've mentioned the 2 invocable variable here, right? If I would have put 3 here, I would have seen 3 input fields on my flow, but here it's not the case. So what we're going to do flow account. I mean, you can do whatever, you can give a meaningful name, right? Okay, so account ID, so go here. So I wanted to populate this with the account ID, the account which is created in the previous screen. Okay, so now go here. Oh, come on. Sometimes it's okay. And now I'm going to look for ID. Okay, so okay, that seems to be okay to me. All right, now you can enter dummy text. This is a newly created test account. I mean, give meaningful information. You can even populate from other fields, but just for demonstration, just to keep it nice and simple, I'm just doing this, okay? And now click on done. Okay. Now the value is required, so that means it's not populated correctly. Oh, come on. So I knew that there's something wrong here, because this annoying. I don't know if it's a bug in the Salesforce, because at times it disappears, or something to do with the browser. So ID. So now I wanted to do account ID, right? This is what I'm interested. Okay, and I'm gonna do done. Okay, so sometimes it's annoying, right? I mean, I tried it using Firefox, it didn't help, but okay, whatever. I click on save. You can say flow accounts log. Give a meaningful name, right? So It's gonna take. Okay, so now we gotta activate it, which is the most important. All right, let's jump into accounts here. Okay, so go to account here. Now let me create a new one. Okay, so before I do that, let's go to account log to see if there's any information here. Okay, so you can see there is none mentioned here, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go to accounts, and I'm gonna go to new, right? And let's say, Dave account or whatever you want. And remember, this will be triggered by one flag, active flag, right? So if you go down, okay, this active, set it to yes, okay, and save. Okay, now let's look at an accounts log. Voila, you have this. Okay, Dave account. This is a newly created test account. Fantastic. Now let's create another account, and let's say, Pete account. You can put whatever name you want. Let's say user decides not to tick this active flag. Now, what do you think? Will the flow get triggered, or will the flow skip the process? Let's find out. Okay, now I've saved it. Okay. There you go. We have no information here. That's because the driving factor, the trigger behind it, is active flag. Right now, the user decides to skip that. So, so that's one of the things you need to pay into consideration before you build a design, before you build a solution. You need to think about it. Just don't build for the sake of it, because I've seen some solution out there. It's okay. I mean, but I would have assumed that people could spend more time thinking about it. At times we get carry forward based on whatever pressure we get from client, but it's always good to take a step back and think about what exactly you're trying to achieve, and is it going to work out in the long run, right? You have to think about for the future as well. Don't build a solution just for the sake of building it, right? That's won't make you a good solution architect or a solution designer. So you need to think from that perspective. It's a good start. I've seen people fresh out of uni. They have a very knack for design, so they can do amazing design stuff. So it's really impressed me at times, right? At the same time, I've seen people with a lot of experience that just tend to avoid it. So there's no. It's not criticism. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying, based on my observation. So my apologies if I sound, kind of rude, but that's not my intention. Okay, so I hope you find this session valuable. So that's all I wanted to cover. Sorry, I haven't been doing much session. I've been, lots of busy. I mean, I've been doing a lot of stuff at work, so I barely get time to make videos these days. But that being said, I thought it's worth to make one video. I hope you might find it useful. Cool. That being said, greetings and adios from New Zealand. Bye bye.